Hello all, welcome to my video. In this particular video, I am actually going to talk about an important subject pertaining to how to respond to RFPs in a practical manner. So, in this particular video, what I actually thought is that let me try to paraphrase some of my experience in the terms of how is that I actually respond to the request for a proposal based upon my experience in umpteen transformations. Okay, be it an agile transformation, digital transformation, strategic transformation, business transformation. What are all the different aspects or dimensions that I have taken care whenever it actually comes to responding to a RFP? Okay, now believe me, responding to an RFP is actually one of the important trait, or actually one of the important competency or a capability expected from a senior level guy. Okay, so of course, responding to an RFP, I would still say it's like it is more of an art rather than a science. Though you have some kind of a pricing model, though you have some kind of a contracting model, all those aspects. Okay, now let us go one by one. Let us take a typical scenario. Okay, you are actually working as a project manager, or you are actually working as a program manager in a service based IT company, and now one of your prospects had actually approached you for a large deal, saying that they wanted your service, and then now you need to respond to their RFP. Now, in this particular video, let us actually quickly go through, okay, what are all the high level sections of that particular RFP, and then probably how to create a differentiator or a unique selling proposition, how to do the costing, or rather how to do the deal pricing aspects in that RFP. Okay, now, um, okay, all right. Now, I want to make one point very clear here. RFP is something different from a SOW. Okay, RFP is actually something what we try to do at the beginning of the project to actually get the project. SOW is something wherein the project has been signed, but how are you going to translate it into a executable, implementable action item? Okay, so in this particular video, I'm focusing primarily on the RFP. On my own YouTube channel, I have made some of the videos in the past pertaining to SOW, and you can might as well go through the LinkedIn articles also. Whatever I have written for a RFP and a SOW. Okay, now let us go one by one. First of all, whenever you are trying to respond to an RFP, you may need to have some high level sections very clear, right? Probably it could be the executive summary and some of the details of your company overview, and then probably some kind of a placeholder in terms of your current state analysis of the client landscape. Means what is that you have really understood based on the client landscape, and what is this particular RFP is fundamentally all about. See, you may need to be cognizant about one thing. Some prospects comes to you because a prospect has a pain point in his or her business landscape, right? That is why the prospect comes to you. So you may need to do a current state assessment or some kind of a current state analysis of the landscape. So probably at a high level, you may need to put it very clearly, saying that, okay, these are all the understanding of my these are all my understanding of the given requirements. And then probably you may need to come up with, okay, can I do a design thinking workshop, can I do a system thinking workshop, can I do a strategic refactoring workshop, depending upon the context. Okay, by the way, whenever I'm actually using the word strategic refactoring, it is something like a business workflow level optimization, right? Wherein I actually take the problem statements, be at a product line level or at a product group level, and then I actually think through this, the solution together with the people. See, any solution, it is always better to co-create the solution rather than you creating a solution and then trying to create a buy-in plan for that, right? So I try to co-create the solution whenever I was working as a enterprise agile coach in the past. Okay, now some kind of a high level view on the proposed solution, right? Outlining the proposed solution, including the methodology details, the technology details, the framework details, what kind of tools you are trying to use, all those high level view need to be put over there. And you also need to have some kind of a placeholder, some kind of a sections for your team and expertise. Okay, what did I mean by that? Whenever I'm actually using the word team and expertise, okay, what kind of capabilities, what kind of skills or competencies that your team is going to have, whether you call it as a pod or a squad or a whatever be the name, all that we are trying to see is, does the team is a cross functional? Because a cross functional team can only become easily self organized. You cannot become basically the team cannot become self organized unless and until they are cross functional in nature. So some people ask me, hey Balaji, can you tell me how to make the team self organized? Very simple. First of all, make the team really cross functional, then automatically people will become self organized, right? So these are all some of the sections, and then you may need to have some sections pertaining to the implementation plan, right? What are all the milestones on the high level? When is that you can produce a potentially shippable increment or something to the production in terms of your release goal, and some kind of a high level milestone level planning, and those particular timelines also need to be put over there in that particular RFP as a high level, together with some kind of a indicative deliverables. Okay, then definitely you may need to have a section on the risk management plan, like in terms of, okay, what could be the potential risk associated with this particular project, and then how it can be mitigated. Okay, now if you are taking a safe framework, probably safe gives you a concept called a Rome board: resolved, owned, accepted, mitigated. But then no, I am just trying to tell you the process independent of the framework being used, more from a PMI process area, right? So no, be it your scope management, your cost management, your time management, your stakeholder engagement, your quality management, your vendor and procurement management, or your communication management, all the different aspects of the PMI process area need to be orchestrated in a nice manner, so that the narrative comes out of the entire the RFP deck. Because the moment you send the RFP deck, whenever the prospect or lead is going through it, the prospect should feel that confidence, the prospect should feel that credibility, and that credibility you can bring in only when that narrative or the storyline is been getting echoed, like when you respond to an RFP. So I generally tell my mentees also in my Agile Mentorship Program that you are not having any kind of a rules to respond to an RFP, but you have strategies to respond to an RFP. Okay, by the way, your plan is something different from a strategy, right? So you always have some kind of a strategies to respond to an RFP. Now, as a part of the extension of this particular thing, you may still need to have some kind of a success stories of a similar client in the past, some kind of a reference case studies. Everything need to be properly called out, and then once you call out all these things, then probably you can do your costing and pricing model and some kind of a contact information, and then a summary or a conclusion. Okay, now whatever I have said now is more from a theoretical approach. Now, let us take a pause and then let us try to deep dive. Okay, now I have understood the theory. Now, how I can translate it into practicable action items. Okay, let me actually tell you that. Now, what happens in a large company, right? Say if you are taking Infosys, Cognizant, Wipro, CTS, TCS, any kind of a service company, right? Generally, what happens whenever a large deal comes, probably there will be something like a CST, something like a customer success team. Probably someone will be assigned from that particular team as part of the pre-sales support activities and all, and then the RFP will flow to the RFP request will internally circulated to the delivery or the account team. Now, depending upon the technicality, depending upon the functionality of the RFP ingredient or the constituents, the respective teams will be called for internally to actually come up with a solutioning aspect, right? Now, if you're taking a practical scenario, right? Let's say that your RFP has some sections on agile, some sections on a DevOps, some sections on cloud computing, some sections on cloud modernization, some kind of a sections on cloud migration, right? Because these are all the typical RFPs which are floating in the current market, right? It could be a cloud modernization or a cloud migration or a DevSecOps implementation or a digital transformation, or it could be an agile transformation, or it could be like building a productized IT model, or something like a value stream, end-to-end value stream management platform. So typically what happens in a real-time practical scenario is the respective teams from the verticals or from the account level, they will be having some kind of a delivery manager, some kind of a project manager, agile coach, some kind of an architect. All these guys, all these people will be held together, something called tracks. I'm just giving an example, okay? The exact terminology or the nomenclature will change from company to company, but you may be having multiple tracks, right? Now in these multiple tracks you will be having respective point of contact. Now this point of contact person will be in charge or responsible for consolidating the inputs from the respective teams, and then roll it up all the way to the converging the thoughts, right? So it is not that whenever an RFP comes you alone will sit and then get it done, but then however you need to be very cognizant about what is your part in that RFP, what is your contribution in that particular RFP, right? Okay, so these are all the things. 1 second please. Yeah, right. So let us actually continue now. Now, some of the aspects which we need to factor, right? One of the very important, or rather a pivotal aspect is, okay, I have understood these concepts. Now, what about the pricing model? Okay, so pricing model is actually one of the important concepts, right? Okay, now from my experience, right, if I want to share my experience on the pricing model, agile pricing models can be okay, because most of the projects are currently executed in an agile driven manner, or in a kind of a hybrid approach, right? Now when it comes to the pricing models, we have fundamentally two types, okay, based upon my experience till now. You have something called as a linear model and something called as a non-linear model. Now linear model is something, as the name indicates, right? Y is equal to f of x, like simple function, right? So it could be a staff augmentation model, or it could be a time and material, or it could be a fixed bid or a fixed pricing model, or you have something called as a fixed capacity model, wherein you treat your pod as a service. Means what? The vendor or the service provider agrees to provide a fixed quantum of the capacity, the person months, at a defined rate for a fixed duration, and the payment is being done paid fixed fee for the variable services. So just to cut a long story short, you have something called as a linear model, where proportionate to the time filled, proportionate to the effort burnt, proportionate to the activity, the payment will be done. However, in the case of a non-linear model, it is not proportionate to the effort invested. It is proportionate to the output generated, or it is proportionate to the outcome generated. So in the case of a non-linear model, based upon my experience, you have something called as an output based story point model. You have something called as an output based transaction model, and also you have something like an output based application development and application maintenance by the same team. And you have so many models, like service catalog based model, and also you can create a custom model. You can also take references from safe managed no capacity safe managed investment contract models. And you also have something like as an outcome based gain share and outcome based pay on a performance. Now knowing these models alone is the first step of the journey. You also need to know in which case I need to go for which model. you also need to know in which case you should not go for a particular model, because generally logical people will only focus on which model to use, but I will also focus on which model not to use. At least I should be very clear on not committing a mistake, right? So common sense says you need to go for a lesser, see, whenever the team is of a lesser maturity in terms of your agile, in terms of your skill set, competency or capability, go for a linear model. For a highly matured team, go for a non-linear model. Also be very clear, okay, this risk need to be owned by whom, whether the vendor or the client. So for every model, the way in which you treat the risk, the ownership of the risk in terms of the scope, in terms of the budget or the cost, in terms of the timeline or this schedule, typically changes. That's what I'm trying to tell. So get to know the different models so that you can use the right arrows at the right time in the battlefield, right? All right. Okay. By the way, of course, once you become part of my Agile Mentorship Program, AMP, all these real-time capabilities will be teach to you. Okay, I will be spending, no, I will be giving you some kind of a template, some kind of a checklist, all those things what I created out of my years of experience. And probably you can take my guidance or a mentorship, so that even if you don't have, that real-time experience, you can leverage my experience. Okay. All right. So just to keep the ball rolling, some of the some of the closure thoughts is, if you go to my LinkedIn, probably I have written a lot of articles on how to approach a strategic transformation, digital transformation, and we have something called as a zero-based budgeting trifecta. Okay, so zero-based budgeting. Trifecta is not based on the past, it's more on the futuristic approach. Okay, so these are all some of the things which you need to have in mind. Now let me tell one more important concept before we wrap up this particular video. Now typically in an industry, you are not going to take your PMP material and then keep it open by the side, and then you are not going to run the project. Okay, let me just repeat this line. You are not going to take your PMP material and then open the PMP book by your side, and then you cannot run a project, because I myself have done my PMP long back, and then I did my PMI ACP. All these things are good to begin the journey. However, when it comes to a real-time complex IT project, how does the costing been done? In some of the companies, you have something called as a CPD, which we call it as a corporate pricing deck. Okay. Now let me take few minutes to actually give my thoughts on a high level whenever we are trying to discuss on this. Now, what is the importance of a CPD? Because a CPD in the IT project is a presentation, or it could be a document, or it could be your in-house portal also, which is going to outline the pricing structure and the cost breakdown aspect and other financial terms associated with the project or service which is intended to offer by your company. So the use of the corporate pricing desk is deck. Okay, CPD, corporate pricing deck, DECK. It is going to communicate the pricing, it is going to facilitate the negotiation, it is going to help you to estimate the cost and predominantly ensure transparency, right? So in the corporate pricing deck, we have an introduction section, something on the scope of the work, and then we will be deep diving into the pricing aspect, like in terms of breakdown of the pricing components such as the hourly rates, fixed fees, recurring charges, and any other additional cost. See, from my experience, right, somewhere close to 22-23 years, I still, even today, I have that habit of at least spending 1 hour per day to read something new. Experience doesn't mean expertise in all the areas. Okay, let me actually repeat this line. Experience in your IT, experience in your IT does not necessarily mean that you possess an expertise in all the areas. Absolutely no. So the more I read and the more I refer to thought papers, white papers, I speak to some of the industry leaders, and then I also keep attending the agile meetups, conferences. All these things helps us to expand your horizons of thinking. See, now you have your google.com, and you also have your ChatGPT. But if you really don't know what to type, then ChatGPT is not going to give you the answer, right? So if you don't even know the term called CPD, corporate pricing deck, then how are you going to improve on your capability to do the pricing strategies? Right? See, because in some cases you may need to do in a very smart manner. For example, in the PI0, see, from a purist approach, there is nothing called a PI0. However, from a pragmatic approach, in a large scale agile transformation, we spend the entire PI to do the discovery phase of the program or the engagement. So typically when they do a PI0, the pricing model will be little bit different. Why? Because in PI0, I'm not giving a tangible value to the customer. That actually doesn't mean that I am not adding any value. In the PI0, I am preparing the soil so that I will sow the seed later. However, from the sprint 1 of the PI1 or the iteration 1 of the PI1, potentially shippable increments will be sent to the prod, of course based on your cadences, because even SAFe says that you need to develop it on a cadence but release it on a demand, which is perfectly fine. But the point what I'm trying to say is, at least you need to have this high level view. Okay, what are the pricing structure, how is the cost breakdown is actually happening in a real time IT industry, what is the difference between a capital expenditure versus an operational expenditure, which you people would have covered in your safe agilist certifications, which I never deny. But how do you really take it practically and then map it to my strategy? No, and then no, how is that you will take your lean horizontal budget guardrails? How is that you will practically implement your strategic theme concepts using some kind of a value stream management platform tools like target process, task top integration hub, task top integration Wiz? You have a tool called micro focus, you have a tool called the jellyfish, and in Jira you have something called Jira align, which gives you the capability to do all these things at a portfolio level, right? So these are all some of the things which you need to keep in mind. Okay, now one of the section one of the things which leaders will be interested is, okay, how do you really measure your margin? How is that you compute your project profitability? Now some of the terms used is, one is the project profit margin, second is the return on investment, and third is the cost benefit analysis, and fourth is the break even point analysis. Okay, now in some of my previous companies, right, let's say 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I have created something called as an ROI calculator, means return on investment calculator. What that particular sheet is going to do, the moment you key in certain parameters in terms of the tool cost, in terms of the test bed setup, in terms of your operational cost, blah 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 blah, I have written some macros. I have written some small utilities embedded in the macros, and the moment I run the macro, that is going to tell what will be the envisaged ROI or envisaged projections. I do believe for you to scale up the ladder and to become part of the leadership team, you need to have these kind of capabilities. You cannot open a PMP material, keep it by your side and do the calculations as per the material. That's not how the real time industry operates. Okay, because when you learn a formula, the formula operates without a context. However, when you apply the formula in a real time IT project, you are constrained by the context of the of that particular engagement, like in terms of the scope, cost, time, and quality, right? So in this particular video, I made a small attempt to share my experience in the best interest of adding value to you people. If you wanted to have a detailed conversation with me, probably you can ping me on WhatsApp. I will share my WhatsApp number in the description section of this particular uh, video, and probably based on the conversation, if you are interested, we can actually work together as part of my uh, mentorship program. Also, I have a different lesson plans for different target audience, like Scrum Master, Senior Scrum Master, RTE, Team Level Agile Coach, Enterprise Agile Coach, Project Manager, Program Manager, Portfolio Manager, Product Owner, Product Manager, and also Change Agents, Organization Change Management. I also have a lessons plan for a digital transformation. I also have a lesson plan called Agile for CXOs, which is primarily positioned at a AVP, VP, SVP, and a board of director level. And currently, I am actually working on coming up with a course curriculum or a lesson plan for a agility with advanced AI, right? So because artificial intelligence is really picking up and then dominating the market, I have started writing a lesson plan on how to use advanced artificial intelligence concepts in the case of implementation of agile engagements. Of course, in my previous projects also, we have created some kind of a defect resolution analysis, some kind of a situational intelligence related codes and utility. But those are all small things. Currently, I'm working on creating a course curriculum more on the advanced AI, combined with agile. So if you have any other questions on the concepts, whatever I have shared here, please feel free to put it in the comment section. Whatever comments no seems to be very thought provoking, I will might as well pin the comment on the top of the YouTube. Okay. See you in some other video. Cheers and good luck, and then bye.